Hi guys, welcome. Let's tune in. This is going to be our third conversation about thoughts, and specifically, we will focus on the conscious brain versus the unconscious brain, as well as the preconscious, which is acting as our bridge to access the unconscious material. So my goal for this discussion is in hopes that you will understand the different functions of each part of the brain, but also the fact that we can access it and how. In the same way, we just talked about the fact that we can use everybody stretch. We can use our brain to manifest. We can bring focused awareness to our desires, which can become our reality. Now, in the last discussion, we talked about the importance of making sure that our beliefs are in alignment with what we want, because our beliefs are essentially lenses that we are seeing the world through. So they are impacting not only our focus, but also if we're trying to focus on something new and it is contradicting from beliefs, which is still a thought, the reason why we don't usually think about beliefs are because they're stored in the unconscious. Essentially, you learned it so long ago, beliefs and other functions in the unconscious, that you don't require direct awareness to them, but that doesn't mean you can't bring attention and awareness to them, because they're impacting you regardless. We might as well learn how to go about doing this. So let's get into it. The conscious brain. Consciousness in the brain is the subjective first-person experience of awareness, of self and the environment, arising from neural processes primarily involving the cortex, which integrates information into unified experience. It constitutes a state of wakeful awareness, allowing for perception, thought, emotion, and the ability to act on the world. Essentially, what you're focused on is what you are conscious of, hence the conscious brain. And I will state before we go through the different functions that there are different percentages online. I'm not here to debate. The conscious mind is responsible for 5 to 10% of the total brain's activity. Only 5 to 10%. Okay? So let's talk about the functions of the conscious mind, which include awareness, perceives current thoughts, sensations, and surroundings, reasoning and analysis, handles deliberate thinking, logic, and decision-making, voluntary control, directs intentional actions, short-term attention, holds information temporarily in working memory, self-reflection, allows you to examine your own thoughts and behavior, stop fidgeting, and planning, creating your goals and your strategies. So these are all different functions that the conscious mind is responsible for. All valid and important functions, but again, this is only 5 to 10%. And I will also just state that most of what we are aware of and bringing reasoning and analysis to our voluntary control, short-term attention, self-reflection, and planning, I would argue that usually we're using a lot of those abilities to carry out functions in the matrix, like your job, even maybe right? Planning, taking the kids to school, all of these things, which are important because we got to live in the world, but it's taking, not only is the conscious mind only responsible for 5 to 10%, but the matrix, the world, is taking up a lot of the capacity of your mind to handle those responsibilities. I said what I said. So let's get into the unconscious brain. And let's remember that the unconscious brain is responsible for 90 to 95% of the total brain's activity. That's a lot more. So we want to access it, right? So let's get into the definition. The unconscious brain or mind refers to the vast, automatic, hidden mental processes that occur below the level of conscious awareness. It involves brain activities such as memory, pattern recognition, and decision making. It influences behavior and emotions without intentional conscious effort. Now, before we get into the functions, I'll point out that we just heard that the conscious brain is responsible for decision making. Again, we can bring our example of beliefs, right? Our beliefs impact the way that we make decisions. In the same way, our focusedness impacts the way we make decisions. Again, these are just continuous examples of why both the consciousness and the unconscious needs to be in alignment, or they're in direct competition. And because the unconscious brain is automatic, and another note that I'll make to you later, screw it, I'll do it right now. So this was super exciting. I was nerding out the other night, and I want to read this fact to you. So, your subconscious is like a high-speed supercomputer that processes roughly 11 million bits of information per second, compared to your conscious mind's 40 bits. 40 bits and compared to 11 million, the unconscious mind is going to win most of the time, like literally. So we can bring our consciousness to the our consciousness to the unconscious so that they are in alignment. This is a process called the individuation process, a term coined by Carl Jung. Love him. So if you want to continue that research on the unconscious brain and shadow work, which is what I love to do, he is somebody I would recommend. So back on track. The unconscious mind is responsible for these functions. Automatic processing runs habitual behaviors and routines efficiently. So habitual habits. These are things we do every day without thinking about them. I have another recommendation for you. Most of us have probably heard of this book. It's called Atomic Habits. Yeah. And it'll help you start to not just bring awareness to those habits, but understand why they're so ingrained within us. Same way with beliefs, right? So we also have emotional processing. Different lesson generates emotional reactions before conscious interpretation. Why you do that? Okay. Memory storage and retrieval, stores vast, I'm thinking about the thumbs down. Okay, focus. Stores vast amounts of learned information and experiences. We have pattern recognition, detects patterns rapidly from past experience. Regulation of bodily functions, controls processes like breathing, heartbeat, digestion, and hormone balance. Even though the unconscious mind can take care of this on its own, do we still do we see the importance of at least sometimes bringing our awareness to this? Implicit learning. Learn skills without explicit awareness, right? Are you aware of what you're taking in? Hence us now becoming more and more aware. Defense mechanisms. Protects a person from anxiety or distress. Okay? And creative incubation. Continues processing problems in the background. So I have another list here that I'll read to you really quickly that summarizes both of these lists a little bit more, if maybe you felt like that was a lot. Let's do this very quickly. Where are you? Okay. So, conscious mind, 5 to 10%. Logical thinking, willpower, short-term memory, critical thinking. Again, there's different sources of information. I'm just doing my best to bring it to you. So unconscious brain is responsible for beliefs, long-term memory, protective reactions, imagination. So again, you can still access the unconscious brain. I would argue, right, that creatives use their imagination more than non-creatives, even though I believe everyone's a creative to some extent. The point is, the ability to tap into the unconscious is very possible. Controls all systems of the body. Programming, what program are you tuned into? Tuned in? Okay. Emotions, values, intuition, fears, and self-image. Again, we can bring our conscious awareness to this, which brings us to the preconscious, which I guess was a term coined by Sigmund Freud. Do your research. But the preconscious brain, the definition. The preconscious mind, or preconscious brain, refers to information, memories, and thoughts that are not in immediate conscious awareness, but can be easily recalled or brought into consciousness through minimal effort. It serves as the middle layer of memory bridging the conscious and the unconscious. You guys, this is where I fell in love with the brain. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say you had a bad day at work or a fight with your spouse, something that you don't want to think about, but you can think about it. Even something from your childhood that maybe comes up from time to time, where it's like, I don't have time to think about this, or I don't want to think about it because it hurts. This is essentially your preconscious. Information that you have access to, but you still have to choose to consciously think about it. It's just a bit more available to you than the subconscious. I should put the image here. So we have the the conscious, right, which is what we can see. And if you dip your toe in a little bit, you'll get to the subconscious. It is accessible information to you. And as you continue to work on the accessible information, then you can get even deeper into what is hidden from you. Because really, the brain is so cool. The way that God made the human body, a lot of that hidden information is to keep you safe. Because let's say, like long-term memories, if you've had a lot of trauma and it's stored in your unconscious brain, literally material you don't have access to, why would the brain give you more information if you're not even working with the information it's giving you? Right? Deal with what comes up when it comes up, and more will be given to you. Ask and you shall receive. So, I guess I'll read the primary responsibilities of the preconscious brain. mental filtering and guarding, acts as a guard or sensor, right? Controlling which information from the vast unconscious is allowed to enter the conscious awareness. Okay, information retrieval and storage, background problem solving, guiding intuition and decision making, facilitating language and thought, and maintaining focus. Continue your research. This is the part that I'm super interested in, and I'm going to give you one more example that I thought of yesterday. The conscious brain is like making a phone call. I'm choosing to call that person, be on the phone for X amount of time, and be engaged in it. I am consciously aware of that person, that I can make the phone call, of the conversation. Now, preconscious, right? It's available to us. It's like the contact list. I could call them, but you still have to make the decision to do so. How many contacts do you have in your phone that you haven't talked to in forever, right? We can think about your memories or the material that's coming up for you in the same way. You still have to choose, even though you can literally see the memory, you can see the thought, you can see the contact. We want to make contact with that memory. Excuse me. So now we'll move on to the subconscious. Subconscious, I'm calling it the blocked list, right? Because you blocked somebody, their phone call can literally not come through. But you could also go to a setting that allows you to unblock them. I don't recommend. But the point is, you can still take an action to allow the call to come through, to allow the memory, the material from the unconscious to come through. But the point is that as we start working with the preconscious material, what do we learn along the way? We learn about ourselves. We learn about what bothered us. We work it out, and that gives us tools to deal with the deeper stuff that is being hidden from us. Cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything more, but conscious. Oh, I'll give you the percentage, because again, the percentage changed when we're now including the preconscious. Conscious is responsible for 5 to 10% of the brain, preconscious 10 to 20, and unconscious is 70 to 85%. So regardless, most of the information is in your unconscious brain, and we can start working to unlock it, and not just like harder material like memories and trauma, but imagination and ideas. And I don't like to overpromise what you're going to experience, because it's really dependent on how far and deep you go with your healing journey and accessing your brain, all of the material within it. But there's actually some really cool gifts, not only processing information a bajillion times faster and being in alignment with who you are, right? The whole point of this channel is to have your own frequency, to know who you are, to be in tune with thyself. How can you be in tune with thyself if you're not even exploring all the parts of the self, including the brain? So I think that's all I have for you guys. And I love this material. And remember, awareness is not enough. Just listening to me is not enough. You have to actively do this work as shit, excuse my French, comes up. Even if you don't want to deal with it, we should bring conscious awareness to it, because it's still information that the brain is trying to give you. And even asking yourself, why don't I want to think about it, is information in itself. Why don't I want to think about this? And even though, it kind of sucks in the moment you're thinking about it, again, it's still affecting you, so you might as well deal with it, number one. But once you deal with it, it's dealt with, instead of leaving like a problem unfinished. There's like a saying, right? Don't leave anything for tomorrow that you can deal with today. Like, it is literally taking up some of your energy, your thoughts, the capacity to do what you want in this life, because you're not thinking about it. I'm done, guys, but I hope you enjoyed this. I did. And I will see you in the next lesson that I've already told you about, which is metacognition, thinking about thinking. See you guys later.